Why were the Egyptians terrified that these little blue dolls might actually kill them? You see these guys in every museum. They look peaceful. They look cute. But if you could read the hieroglyphs carved into their chests, you'd realize they aren't dolls at all. They are a magical army waiting for a command. And the scary part, sometimes they didn't obey. You're probably thinking, wait, it's just a statue. But to understand the actual horror story behind these things, we have to talk about the Egyptian version of heaven. Because it wasn't what you think it was. See, most of us picture the afterlife as this relaxing paradise where you float around and eat grapes. But for the ancient Egyptians, the field of reeds was basically a farm. A massive, eternal farm. And guess who had to work that farm? You did. It didn't matter if you were a peasant or a pharaoh. When you died, the gods expected you to work. We're talking digging irrigation ditches, ploughing fields, carrying sand. Hard, back-breaking manual labor. For eternity. Now, imagine you're a rich noble. You've never lifted a finger in your life. You have servants to peel your grapes. The idea of spending eternity sweating in a field was literally your worst nightmare. It was worse than death itself. So, they invented a cheat code. They created the Ushabti, or Shabti. The name literally translates to the answerer. Here's how the magic worked. You die. You go to the underworld. The god Osiris calls out your name for the daily work roster. Hey, Ramses, time to go dig a ditch. But instead of you getting up, this little doll is supposed to magically come to life, raise its hand, and scream, "Here I am!" It takes your place. It does the work. You get to go relax by the pool. It's actually genius when you think about it. It's spiritual tax evasion. They were trying to trick the gods with magical loopholes. But here is where the mystery gets deep. Because initially, you'd just have one or two of these guys buried with you. Maybe one to handle the heavy lifting. But then, the paranoia set in. People started doing the math. They thought, wait, what if my Shabti gets tired? What if it breaks? What if the work is really hard? So they started buying more, and more, and more. It turned into an arms race. The tombs of the super rich weren't just filled with gold, they were barracks. King Seti I? He didn't just have a few, he had over 700 of them. He had so many that he actually organized them into squads. And this is the part that blows my mind. If you look closely at a large collection of Shabtis, you'll notice something weird. Most of them are holding little hoes and baskets. They are the workers. But every 10 workers or so, you'll see a different doll. It's wearing a kilt. It's holding a whip. That is an overseer. The Egyptians were so afraid that their magical slave dolls would get lazy in the afterlife, they buried magical manager dolls to whip the worker dolls into submission. That is a level of micromanagement that, honestly, I have to respect. But there was a darker side to this magic, a fear that isn't written about in the tourist brochures. The Egyptians believed that images could hold a piece of the soul. That means these dolls were, in a way, alive. They had agency. There are texts that hint at a terrifying possibility, a Shabti revolt. Imagine being sealed in a tomb, in the pitch black, surrounded by hundreds of these little figures. You bought them to serve you, but you also know they are armed with tools. And you know you're trapping them in there with you forever. There's a specific spell, Chapter 6 of the Book of the Dead, that is carved on almost all of them. It's the activation code. But some private letters found in tombs suggest people were genuinely afraid the magic would backfire, that the dolls would answer to the wrong person, or worse, become enemies in the necropolis. It makes you look at them differently, doesn't it? When you see them in a museum case now, lined up in rows, don't look at the bright blue faience or the pretty glaze. Look at the hands. Look at the tools. They are frozen in the middle of a job. The mystery of the Shabti isn't just, what are they? The mystery is what they say about us. Or, well, the ancient Egyptians. They spent their entire lives preparing for death, building massive pyramids, writing complex spells, all just to avoid doing chores on the weekend. It proves that no matter how much society changes, human nature really doesn't. We will do absolutely anything to get out of work, even if it means building a magical army of ceramic clones. So, I have to ask you, if you could build a magical clone to do exactly one chore for you for the rest of eternity, what would it be? Laundry? Dishes? Or would you need an overseer to make sure it actually did it? Let me know in the comments.